Victoria wasn't ordinary. She wasn't like the other kids at school. Victoria possessed a gift, a terrifying power that lurked beneath her fingertips. A touch. That's all it took. One touch and she could manipulate time itself. The years could melt away, or they could pile on, depending on her whim. It was a heady, intoxicating power, and it filled her with a terrifying sense of control. She discovered her power accidentally. A bully had cornered her after school, all spit and malice. Victoria, terrified, had reached out and touched him. In seconds, he was a blubbering toddler, confused and afraid. The power scared her then, but the fear was quickly replaced by something else. A thrill, a dark exhilaration. The possibilities were endless. Across town, the local college buzzed with life. Victoria would sit for hours, hidden amongst the trees, watching the students go by. They seemed so free, so adult. And then she saw him. He was older, a senior maybe, with laughing eyes and sun-kissed hair. He was everything she wasn't: confident, carefree, untouchable. He became her obsession. She knew his name, his class schedule, the coffee shop he frequented. He was her own personal fantasy, one she nurtured from afar. Victoria knew she couldn't have him, not really, but she could watch, couldn't she? She could imagine. And in her mind, he was hers. One day she got careless. She followed him, too closely, too consumed by the sight of him laughing with his friends. He caught her staring, a flicker of annoyance crossing his handsome features. "What?" he snapped, his voice sharp. She froze, caught in the act. Panic surged through her. He couldn't know her secret. He couldn't know her obsession. And then instinct took over. She reached out, her hand connecting with his chest. The world seemed to tilt, the air thickening around them. The confident young man was gone, replaced by a small boy, his eyes wide with confusion. The transformation was instant, terrifyingly complete. Victoria's house was silent, shrouded in shadows. She lived there alone, her parents long gone, lost to a car accident years ago. It was a place of secrets, a place where she could be herself, however terrifying that self might be. She led the boy, now no older than 10, inside, his small hand clasped tightly in hers. "Don't worry," she whispered, her voice soothing, her eyes gleaming with a terrifying light. "You're safe here. I'll take care of you." He was confused, scared, but he didn't struggle. He was a child, after all, and she was all he had now. He didn't even remember being anything else. Section 5. The Illusion of Love. She aged him slowly, carefully. She made him a teenager, a mirror of her own longing, but she kept his mind untouched. He was innocent, malleable, easy to control. He thought she was his girlfriend. She made sure of it. She spun stories of their love, their connection, their shared destiny. He believed her, his eyes shining with adoration. And in the quiet darkness of her room, she pretended he was the college student. She pretended he wanted her, desired her, loved her. She clung to the illusion, her heart a tangled mess of guilt and desire. The realization hit her like a physical blow, nausea, dizziness, an impossible, terrifying truth. She was pregnant. It was a consequence she hadn't even considered. Her power, usually so precise, had betrayed her. Or perhaps it was her own reckless desire that had set this chain of events in motion. She used her power again, her hand trembling as she placed it on her stomach. The image was unmistakable, a tiny flicker of life growing inside her, a terrifying reminder of her actions. The boy, her captive, her lover, her victim, was oblivious, still trapped in the fantasy she had created. But for how long? He had been having dreams, flashes of a life he couldn't quite grasp. A classroom filled with students, textbooks open, the smell of coffee and old paper. A group of friends, their laughter echoing in his ears. A life he instinctively knew was his, but couldn't quite reach. And then one day, it all came flooding back. He remembered who he was. He remembered her, the strange girl who had been watching him. He remembered the touch, the terrifying sensation of his body shrinking, the world tilting on its axis. He looked at her, his eyes widening with dawning horror. She was a monster, and he was her prisoner. He tried to escape, of course. He was desperate, fueled by terror and a desperate longing for his old life. But she caught him, her eyes blazing with a cold fury. He was hers, she hissed, her voice a low growl. He was hers forever. And then she touched him again. his body contorted, shrinking, his mind regressing once more. He was a baby now, helpless, dependent. He cried, a thin, reedy sound that tore at her heart even as it solidified his captivity. She cradled him close, her cheek resting against his soft hair. He was safe now. They were safe. He cooed, a small, innocent sound. He was hers now, truly hers. They could be together always. She would take care of him, protect him from the world that had almost stolen him away. The guilt gnawed at her, but it was a distant ache, muted by the overwhelming relief that washed over her. He was hers. Forever young, forever hers. She rocked him gently, humming a soft lullaby. The future stretched before her, uncertain, terrifying, but she no longer felt alone. She had her baby, her love, her prisoner.